Good morning, crochet crafters. Today I'm going to show you how to make a blanket using a basket weave technique with two colors. Both of my colors are only 2-ply because they're light, and I'm picking a dusty pink and a bright blue to kind of show the contrast. You can use whatever colors you want, and when you're making a blanket, decide how many you want to do in each color before you switch. So for example, I'm going to do 4 and then 4 and then 4. So I have to divide 4 into anything that I want. So if I want a blanket, I'm going to say maybe 8 times 4 is 32. So I'm going to make 320 stitches. If you want to do like 5 in one color, then you might want to say 8 times 5 is 40, so you want to do 400, or maybe you want to do 7 times 5 is 35 and 350. For a standard blanket, anywhere between 350 to 400, depending on the size of your hook, is going to be good. So I'm using a 5, so I would probably use more stitches because a 5 is smaller than what I normally use. A 6 or a 7 is also good. Just bear in mind this project does use a lot of yarn, so if you can buy the cheaper yarn with the 2-ply, you're going to be better off for this project. And once you finish the number of stitches you want, then you want to chain one, because the one that your hook is in doesn't count as a stitch because you're going to go into the one next to it. So if you have 400 stitches, you want to do 401. 350, you want to do 351, and so on. So to begin this project, to make sure that I get my colors together, we're going to do what's called a single amigurumi style, and we're going to alternate colors. So in order to alternate colors, we want to make sure we start off with the right start to begin with. So what I'm going to do is, once you've done your chains, and I'm only doing a sample to show you this, and I'm doing 4, and then I'm switching to a different color. So it'll be 4, 4, and 4. So what you're going to do, and you may have to try this a little bit to get the hang of it, but you're going to put the other yarn parallel to the yarn that you're using. And you can leave a little tail if you want to sew back in after the fact. So when you get started and you've done your first chain of 350 or 400 or whatever you're starting with, you're going to do a single crochet. But as you go through and you do that single crochet, you're picking up the blue, you're wrapping it over the pink, like so, and then doing a single crochet. So I'm going to show that to you again. Now the pink is in front of the blue, and I'm wrapping the pink right into the blue, and I'm doing 4 of those. So it's going to make it nice and warm and comfy cozy because you've got those 2 yarns. Now you probably are saying to me, wow, Lori, I can't even see that. Right, because you've worked that right into your stitch. So now you just alternate. Put the blue, rotate it, put the blue in front of the pink or whatever color. Grab the dusty rose. You're never changing yarns. You're only bringing one of the yarns to the front and moving one in the back. So now I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I want to do one more. And as I do that, I'm going to move the blue and grab the pink in the front. You see how I'm alternating? And then as I go through, I'm pulling the blue through, and the pink is just staying to the background now. And you can, again, you can try this out. You can do it. You can alternate stitches that you want to. You can do, 5 of these, 7 of these, however you want to make it look. I'm only using a small amount so that I can kind of show you. how that comes across. So now I'm going to switch again, moving the twist. It's just a twist, moving the pink behind the blue, up, picking it up, holding the blue close to the stitch, and now I'm going to rotate. Now, this is when you come to the end of your blanket, you're going to have to decide. Let's just assume you want all the pink to be on one, or let's say now you want the blue to be on this and the pink to be over here. You could do that too, but it just really depends on what you want, what look you're going for. So I'm gonna just probably stick with the pink to the pink and the blue to the blue, just because if you wanted to do it the other way, you could just use a multicolor yarn, and that would, you know, pretty much give you that same effect that you were looking for. So I'm just doing this. Now, the one thing I will tell you about this is if you're switching colors and you want to go back, and I did this on purpose so you could see how it's one off here and then you've got the blue again here. It's because you need to, when you're changing color, you need to make sure, okay, I'm changing color, so I need to do one more chain of that color. So for example, this is the blue, so I'm changing color, but now I've got to go into the pink to make sure that I'm consistent with using the pink on pink. And see, you've still got that blue one on your hook. So really what you needed to do was right here, you needed to switch to the pink, so that when you took that next stitch onto the pink, that's where you'd be. So I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do is right here, we're going to do our last blue stitch by alternating that and bringing that through, and then we're going on to our pink stitch. So you're just holding that piece of yarn that you're not using behind you. And again, maybe using a multicolor will give you the desired effect, but if you're wanting a more consecutive look and you want to make sure that your pinks are with your pinks and your blues are with your blues, that can kind of give you a basket weave effect. And it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned on top of each other either. If you don't want to do that, you can alternate it the way you want. But it's kind of fun because if you don't have a multicolor and you want to do kind of a, make sure that you have a basket weave with whatever amount of stitches you want to use. And when you turn it, you're just going to chain one because it's only a single amigurumi style. So every time you get to the end of your work, you're just chaining one. And again, if you don't, I don't mind just kind of an irregular pattern like this, but if you want to make sure that you get the same pink and the same blue exactly the same, you have to make sure you know when it is that you want to twist the colors and change. So I'm going to continue with the blue. And twisting the pink. It makes for a really nice thick blanket too, because you're using two colors that are rather thin. So you're really making this blanket a really warm blanket for either snuggling up by the fire or using in a chair, wherever you want. And I'd suggest that you pick two contrasting colors, because if you pick two contrasting colors, like what I've got, it's really going to look nice. It's going to show up, it's going to pop. If you don't pick two contrasting colors, there's really no reason for doing this kind of a weave, because it's really not going to give you the desired effect that you want, and you kind of want this to pop. So I'm just going to chain one and picking up my blue again. Actually, you know what I did? I messed up, because I really need to keep the blue with me at all times, and I dropped that loop, and that would have looked funny, because as I chain one and I come around, I want to make sure I'm still picking up that blue, so that I'm not dropping a loop so it'll look like I missed a loop in my blanket. So you're chaining one every single time you get to the end. It doesn't really matter what, you can use whatever color you want to chain. And obviously I'm going to show you how this is going to just twist. It's just an easy twist when you change colors. And you can buy these in like Super Saver bundles. And like I said, the 2-ply is far less expensive than the 4-ply. So if you're using 2-ply colors to be able to do this, it's going to be more affordable, because it like I said, it does get a little costly because you're using two different colors here. So I'm just going to finish this row with you. And if you want to try this technique with a double crochet or a half, it also looks nice with a half double crochet, which it'll probably go much faster for you, because it will raise it a little bit. The single crochet does take a bit of time. And as I go through, you can see that kind of got a little twisted. So I'm trying to get back on track with that without picking up my pink. So holding the color that you're not using closest to the stitch makes the most sense, because holding that stitch will give you the desired effect that you want. And I'm going to chain one, and again, you're always going to chain one when you turn. So I'm just going to show you how this looks. It's got a really, you can see that weave underneath, which kind of gives it a really pretty effect too. And it just, on the back, the same thing. It just gives it a really unique pattern and something a little different than what you would normally do. And it's a nice blanket option, and it makes a very thick blanket. So I hope you like my video and follow me on Lori's Handiwork. And I also have a Etsy shop at Lori's Handiwork as well that I just started. Thank you so much.